Good morning. We'll start the City Board of Equalization. It's reconvened at this time. Ben, you want us to take individual appeals from the floor? I think Mr. Myers is here. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Are you Mr. Myers? Matt, you'd come to that podium over there, please. We received that. Ben Hushka sent it to all the commissioners last evening or yesterday, as I recall.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Through the mask? Thank you.
Yep.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for letting me have this opportunity to speak. The letter I have submitted this morning to you, I'm just going to read to you now for the sake of time. This is pursuant to our previous correspondence that was submitted previously on April the 14th at the Board of Equalization meeting. We hereby submit this revised letter for further valuable consideration to respectfully appeal the city's reappraisal of our property value at 1105 8th Street South in Hawthorne, Erskine's Edition. We have requested, and Ben Hushka at the City Assessor's Office has agreed to submit this new letter to be presented at this meeting this morning. I hope you can understand as fellow human beings and Fargoans how astonished and wounded we are that the city's assessment department has decided to suddenly reappraise our property value for this parcel at a stunning 30+% increase during a global pandemic and recession, no less. Cass County will undoubtedly use these new assessments to substantially raise our real estate taxes as a result, presumably by as much as the percentage increases of the new value. Previously, we never complained about the modest increases to our property taxes over the years. Taxes are good. We like paying our taxes. We want Fargo schools to be great. We want to support essential city services like our wonderful police and fire departments, the public library, this beautiful new city hall, and so on. But what this represents is a massive, sudden, explosive tax increase, pure and simple. And the timing could not be worse, given the huge economic downturn due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I myself have lost my job and income because of the pandemic, and I know I'm not alone in this. The assessment department coldly justifies these so-called outlier appraisal hikes as market corrections for undervalued properties. The appraisers down at the assessment department say they're just following the law and responding to the market values of recent home sales. However, despite these assertions, as explained by the department's overly complicated and incomprehensible calculus used to assess new values, the value rate increases are random and arbitrary. Most importantly, they were calculated according to market values in the spring and summer of 2019, prior to this unprecedented and devastating economic downturn that will undoubtedly have an effect on our home's actual value in the real estate market. For this reason, we ask you to reconsider our property value assessment in light of current realities. How do we know that the rate increases are arbitrary? Well, for example, some property owners, our neighbors and friends to be precise, received automatic and special consideration to lower their new values. So why do some get special treatment but not others? How is this following the law? How is this finding true and full market value? How is this applying mass appraisal techniques? Case in point number one, parcel 01-2400 01590 at 823 8th Street South. 2,666 square feet on a double lot was assessed at $299,800 in 2019. The owner made very few, if any, home improvements to the dwelling. It occupies a sizable double lot, more than twice the size of our own lot, on the same street a few blocks away. And yet, this year, the city initially assessed the new value of 823 at $408,000. When the property owner called the assessment department to complain, he was told that the reason his property value was hiked by 40% was because the city's assessment department just assumed that the owner would have completed substantial improvements to the property by now and that it would be worth more. They just assumed. Assumption was the appraisal technique here. When confronted with this appraisal technique, the assessment department immediately withdrew its value increase and returned the assessment to the 2019 level. In other words, the assessment department just made a few assumptions to arrive at their proposed 40% increase at 823. When confronted with the facts of the property, the assessors automatically rescinded them. This clearly indicates that assessment by the assessment department involves a certain amount of speculation and guesswork. Again, we see this as grounds to ask that our own property value increase be reassessed. Our home at 1105 8th Street South is a one-story home with a finished attic and basement. The city appraises the entire square footage at 1,863 square feet, when it should be listed as 1,305 square feet. Last year, it was valued at $243,500. That's about $131 a square foot. Whereas the home just a few blocks away at 823, which is 803 square feet larger, 1,361 square feet larger if you exclude the attic and basement of our home, and has a double lot size, is now assessed at $112 a square foot. How is this fair and equitable? We have made no home improvements in the 9 years we have owned our house, other than to replace a leaky roof. We have done zero remodeling. And now the assessment department wants to raise our price per square foot to $170 a square foot, while our neighbor down the street with a bigger house, closer to downtown, plus a more than double lot size, gets to enjoy a $112 a square foot tax assessment? Case in point number 2, parcel 01078000370 at 1021 8th Street South, just across 11th Avenue, 2 doors away, is almost exactly the same size house as ours and received a 0 increase. That homeowner is valued at $122 a square foot. That house is appraised at $224,600. But the estimated value of this home on internet realtor sites such as Zillow and Trulia estimates this home is worth $306,638. That's $82,000 less than the city's own appraisal. And yet, this home, almost identical square footage and lot size, no improvements, no remodeling, is assessed by the city's appraisers at less. If, as they claim, there has been a spike in land values for the lots, why didn't the owner of 1021 get hit with a big value increase then? And if the assessment department was truly utilizing all the available tools at their disposal to assess market value, why do the values differ so substantially from professional real estate websites? Case in point number 3, parcel 010780 00870 at 1110 8th Street South, directly across the street from us, is incorrectly listed by the city as 1,768 square feet. In actuality, that house is 2,652 square feet, according to the Realtor's website. It has undergone several major home improvements over the past 3 years, including a brand new kitchen and bathroom remodeling job and a brand new gorgeous deck. And yet, the new appraised value is $321,800, or just $121 a square foot. Still valued less than our home, which is 789 square feet smaller, or 1,347 square feet smaller if you exclude the attic and basement. That house sold 2 years ago for $319,000. So, bigger house, bigger remodeling job, bigger price tag, and yet our house, directly across the street, is somehow assessed more for less. This is hardly fair and equitable. Case in point number 4, the estimated market value on real estate websites such as Zillow and Trulia for our home lists the estimated home value at $246,292. That's about $71,000 less than what the city of Fargo wants to assess. Again, if the assessment department were truly utilizing all the available tools at their disposal to assess market value, why do the values differ so substantially from professional real estate websites? When city appraiser Teresa Ash visited our home on May 30th last year, she assured me that her visit was not intended to raise our property taxes. She assured me that she was just there to take a look and update their records. And yet, here we are, less than 1 year later, getting hit with a massive tax hike during a major economic recession and global pandemic, no less. Now the city wants to include the attic and the basement of our home in its total square footage. Since when? All of these facts demonstrate that the assessment department's sudden increases are based on specious market assumptions, potentially incorrect building information, and significant market value discrepancies. We know you're all doing your best, but unprecedented times call for unprecedented measures, such as reconsidering appraisal values that were decided upon last year when the world looked entirely different than it does now. Please understand, we mean no disrespect. In such a time of global pandemic crisis, staggering unemployment like we've never seen before, I've lost my job. As I said, so the city's terrible timing has compounded my stress, and plummeting markets. Does anyone honestly believe this kind of speculative analysis is a good idea for the citizens of Fargo right now? I am now unemployed. I have no idea when, how, or even if I will return to the livelihood I've enjoyed. Attention to the City Commission, the city's assessment department, and the Board of Equalization, by extension, the North Dakota State Tax Department, that in such a historic time of exceptions and sacrifices, these property value increases should be rescinded, and any new assessment increases should be conducted on a more fair and equitable basis. At this crucial moment, the big assessment question before the city commissioners on the board is not about the law's procedural needs, but about the people's actual needs. And right now, the people in the core neighborhoods of Fargo do not need another tax hike in the midst of such a crisis, rushed through in the early hours of a Tuesday morning, no matter how good last year's market was, and no matter what the state tax department or the city's assessment department demands. Thank you for taking the time to consider this matter. I hope you will act favorably upon our request. I hope you and yours will stay safe and well during this difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Ben, you guys did an analysis of this. It's in the booklet. Do you want to make a comment to your team?
Well, we have several comments. There's some inaccurate information and numbers in Mr. Myers' letter. I'd like to begin by reiterating what I did at the initial meeting, that valuation for assessment by statute is as of February 1st of the year. So we're talking February 1st, 2020. So obviously the information we would have used to arrive at these values were sales from the prior year, which Mr. Myers correctly states that we used mostly 2019 sales, but that is the nature of assessment valuation in North Dakota. So as far as, like I say, some of the numbers were inaccurate. The case in point two, for instance, our value is not 224,000, it's 286,000. And there's a few more of those, but I don't really, if you want me to go point by point, I could, but I think.
We have the assessment in the book.
It was assessed at what? It's now 286. What was it before?
The value prior to this year's assessment?
Yeah, we can answer that one.
For 2019, it was valued at $243,500.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I just have a interesting thing. So in the Wall Street Journal, the article this morning, why are home prices rising during the pandemic? The reason is the supply of you know, obviously, sales have fallen, but the supply of homes has also shrunk. So it's an interesting article that actually prices of houses are going up, which obviously wouldn't make sense when people are losing their jobs, but it's a good article, and it happened to just be in the Wall Street Journal this morning, so I thought that was a good point. Thank you.
Well, what we're here today to do is equalize the valuations, and with Mr. Meyer's property on page 1 of the booklet we've given you some information. Our value last year was $243,500, which is actually 11% below what they paid for it 9 years ago. Our current value of $317,400 is 15% over what they paid for it in 2011. The residential market since 2011 has gone up 55%. And today we're only 15% over what they paid 9 years ago. We have given you some comps of sales that we feel justifies the value that we have on it, and our recommendation is to retain our value of $317,400.
Discussion? Do I have a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Commissioner Strand?
Mayor, I'm just curious, and I kind of have a sense of this, but I'm not sure the accuracy of the detail. There is assistance for folks with facing hardships for property taxes in Fargo, I believe.
Yes.
That might be something that we really alert the public to, that there are programs, like in Mr. Myers' instance, where he's unemployed, that's an absolute hardship. And I'm sure there's a lot of other folks that we may ask our PR department to make that pretty readily available.
Yes. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Gehrig?
Yes.
Strand?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. Next item is Mr. Mertz.
Yes, this is 1014 20th Street South. Again, like you're going to see with most all of our recommendations, we have included comparable sales of properties similar to the subject properties. Mr. Mertz recently did do a little bit of remodeling. He added a bath to the basement, which wasn't significant, and he did get the remodeling exemption for that. But we feel that the value we're recommending is consistent with the sales of similar properties, and we recommend retaining the current value of $171,500.
So in the book, you have appraisal today, $187,100, and then you're saying to pay it's $171. So I assume what you're saying is the part that he added will not be added until the exemption's over, or when will that come back into play?
There was only like $2,700 that was added to the value for the basement bathroom, and that will come on in 5 years.
Okay. Any questions, Ben, on this property? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Strand?
Yes.
Gehrig?
Yes.
Grinberg? Pepcorn?
Aye.
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Schroeder?
Yes, this property is a multi-tenant office building, built in '97 with 7,192 square feet. Our current value is $805,300, or just under $112 per square foot. You can see a list of the comparable sales, median sale price at $136 per square foot. We also compared our value on 34 comparable properties, and the median value that we have on similar properties is at just under $138 per square foot. again, our value on this property is $112 per square foot. We feel it's, based on its condition and so forth, that that's a fair value, and we recommend retaining the value of $805,300.
Questions, discussion? Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Gehrig?
Yes.
Strand?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. Mr. Halleck?
This is 1437 9th Street South. Our current value for 2020 is $208,600 or $150 a square foot. Again, we've got a list of comparable properties and recommend retaining the value of $208,600.
Do I have a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Gehrig?
Yes.
Strand?
Yes.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Mr. Wilt?
This is 1113 Second Avenue South. One of the concerns Mr. Wilt brought up was some crime in the neighborhood. We were unable to view the property. We asked Mr. Wilt to send us some interior photos, which we have not received at this point. So we valued the property as in average condition. That's based on an exterior view of the property that seemed reasonable, and we recommend retaining our current value of $158,900.
Questions? Motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Gehrig?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. Colbeck?
628th Street South, our current value is $427,000. This property we were not able to get into when we did the reappraisal. So we had to estimate some things we did in the follow-up when Mr. Klobeck called concerned about the value, did ask for some interior photos. I believe just last week he sent some photos of the attic and the basement, but none of the main part of the house. So we are going to continue to consider the property in average condition and recommend our value at $147 a square foot of $427,000 be retained for 2020.
Motion?
I'll make the motion, but can I add one more comment, Ben? If you wouldn't mind in the future, just so when these people that don't allow us into the facility, I think that would be good to know. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
And I don't know if that would be more work for you, but just because to me, I think that's part of the legitimacy of if they want us to reassess it and to not allow us, that doesn't seem really quite right.
Right, and normally we do. This year with the pandemic, we did not pursue actually going out and visiting these properties. That's why we asked for photographs and so forth. And we're still thinking about that for this summer work, whether we will be going into houses.
But I guess just from my perspective, just if they
Right.
decline to let us into the property, that would be good to know, because that reflects
Sure.
on them. Thank you. So I made the motion, sorry about that.
Is there a second?
Second. Second.
Moved and seconded. Garrick was the second. Any questions or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Gehrig?
Yes.
Grinberg? Strand?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. Burnson?
Yes, 909 25th Avenue North, there were some calculations that had to be reviewed on this property, and there was some building permit work done as well, but after reviewing the information, we do recommend reducing the value to $178,000. It was at $227,900, so we recommend a value of $178,000 for this property for 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Strand? Grinberg? Pepcorn?
Aye.
Gehrig? Mahoney?
Fines? Casey Fines?
Yes, this is a condo unit. The property was sold as part of an estate for $215,000. Our current value is $276,300. There is a current mortgage in place on this unit for $360,000. Again, we've shown comparable units within the building and our valuations, and recommend retaining the current value of $276,300.
Is there a motion? You have a motion?
So moved.
Grinberg, second.
I'll second it.
Pepcorn. Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Grinberg.
Aye.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Gehrig.
Yes.
Strand.
Yes.
Mahoney.
Aye. Home Depot.
Yes, our current value is $10,298,000. A tax representative agency filed an appeal on this property requesting a value of $7,682,000. On page 25, you can see our analysis of how we have other similar properties valued. There's a fairly tight range of square foot prices. And we also have some sales which show a little wider range, obviously. But our value seems to be in line with how we have other similar values on big box stores, and we are comfortable with the value we have compared to the sales that we've looked at. So we recommend retaining the current value of $10,298,000.
Have a motion?
I so move.
Second.
Seconded. Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Strand. Grinberg.
Aye.
Gehrig.
Yes.
Mahoney.
Aye. Fields.
Yes, this was also appealed by a tax representative agency. Our current value is $28,286,000. The appellant requested a value of $15,300,000. After reviewing the property characteristics and working up a new appraisal today, we do recommend a decrease to $25,397,000. That's a decrease of $2,889,000. That's after revisiting the property, correcting some information, and running a new appraisal. So we recommend a value of $25,397,000 for 2020.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it, but I have a question. So the square footage price, where does that one compare to the one that we just looked at as far as the estimate? Do you have that?
Compared to the Home Depot?
Yes. You know, because, I mean, to me, they're similar types of big box, and just was curious as to, you know, the square footage price. Thank you.
Bear with me a second here.
Okay, so I think it's on page 46, about midway through, that says $54.47 per square foot. Is that the correct number? I'm just, and I'm sorry to.
That does not sound right. I think,
Fifth paragraph down from appellant analysis. So.
The Home Depot dollar per square foot is about $87 per square foot. The Shields dollar per square foot is going to be quite a bit higher due to about 80,000 square feet of office space that's located to the west. So it's going to be closer to about 140. I'm not sure the exact number. I could get that if you'd like.
No, and that's if you, for future, and I admit it's different. Obviously, most of us have been in both buildings, and it's a different type of facility. The Home Depot is more of a warehouse versus the retail of the other one. But I was just curious, just because they're kind of in the same vicinity. So if you don't mind, just to have that for future, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you repeat again what you said the square footage price was then? But it's more than $55 a square foot.
Much higher, yes.
So that was their idea, that it was $55 a square foot.
Correct.
That
That's what
doesn't
they
even hit, that doesn't even hit the big box
Right.
cost, right?
And a lot of their comparables, as if you look through their information, were dark stores, you know, that had closed, and many in rural areas, you know, not comparable properties at all.
Okay. We had a motion and a second, right? Shelley, okay. Any other discussion? Mr. Strand?
Thank you. Ben, I'm just curious, when you went through the Shields property, you referred to minor changes in the property records, but is a 10% reduction a minor change?
So the actual changes that we did were square footage related. We also repriced items in the basement. They have a wood shop down there that was being valued as office space, quite a significant amount. So that dollar per square footage was reduced. And then we also used an updated valuation model that matches the other big box stores with basically the same valuation methodology. So.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Gehrig?
Yes.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. Samuel?
Yes, this is a vacant lot that has a overhead power line easement that does hinder the property. We do adjust for the fact that it is vacant, and we're making a 60% adjustment for the power line easement. Our current value is $32,800. Mr. Samuel actually purchased the property in October of 2019 for $89,500. And I'm not quite sure what his intention for the lot was, but we feel we're fairly representing the easement and the utility of the lot at our $32,800, and that's what we recommend.
We have a motion.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Gehrig?
Yes.
Strand? Grinberg?
Aye.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Mahoney?
Aye. Bolus?
Yeah, since the initial board meeting, we did receive information from James Bullis on about 115 vacant lots and this particular multi-tenant office building on page 81. It has a medical office, a daycare, and other office space in the building. It was actually acquired in 2016 by the current owners for $5,320,300, or $162 a square foot. Our current value is actually a little bit less, but close to that at $5,247,000. We recommend the $5,247,200 for 2020.
Questions? Motion?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I just have a question if I could, Mayor.
Second. Grinberg's got the second, then I'll go to John.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Strand?
Ben, remind me, if you would, the formulaic approach to, you have a purchase price and an appraised price value.
Well, we arrive at our appraisals by looking at multiple sales. Not every similar property sells for exactly the same, and there's obviously terms and conditions to sales. So there's a range of sale prices out there for any given property, and You can probably notice that in some of those comp grids we show of fairly similar properties, there's a range. So in appraisal, you try and get for the subject properties that are as similar characteristically as possible, and you need to analyze some of the sale conditions to see if there were concessions made by the buyer or seller and so forth. So there's not a definitive number when you go out in the market and look at sales. So, I mean, we try to be, like I had said at the last meeting, the Board of Equalization, or the state board, they look at a range of our ratio of our values to the sale prices, realizing that there is some, no exact number, so to speak. They allow between 90 and 100%. So we feel if we're within a reasonable percentage of a sale price within the last few years, that, especially for a commercial property, they're a little bit tougher. Not all types of commercial property sell every year. Residential is a little bit easier because you have a lot more sales of similar properties. So it's an estimate based on facts and data that is out there in the sales.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call votes, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Gehrig?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye.
And on pages 82 and 83 are the lots that Mr. Bullis was concerned about. They're vacant lots in an area that's being developed. Part of the lots, those that we have valued around the 18,000, 12,000, services are not completely in. They've just now started scraping to put the streets in, so they do not have full services in. And I just want to reiterate that our value is of the lots free and clear of all debt, including outstanding special assessments. So I did show what the balance of the specials are on these lots. Obviously, the outstanding balance of specials are, at this point, considerably higher than alone than our values. But eventually, when all services are in and everything is developed, these will likely be in the $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 range, like those at the top of the list, which is an area of these two subdivisions that is more developed than the southern part of the development. So our recommendation is to retain the current value that we have listed for 2020 value for these lots.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Grinberg.
Ben, what would these be, 50-foot lots? Do we know the front footage?
Well,
They're pretty consistent with your point about adding once they're adjusted, but
right. I don't offhand have the map. There's some curved streets in there, so you do have some triangular shaped lots and varying sizes.
Looks like they run from 15,000 to 20,000, so there must be some variance in size.
And at this point, if you look at the far right column, the way we handle the vacant lots is, even with all services in, vacant lots in a new development, we have full value less 30% for the fact that they're vacant, and that basically is considering the absorption time for a developer to move the lots and get them sold. And then the lots where not all services are in addition to the 30% reduction for vacancy, we have 50% of what we would otherwise have also reduced for the fact that services are not completed.
I have a motion. Do I have a motion?
second.
Moved and seconded, Pepcorn Grinberg, is that right? Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Gehrig?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. Michelle?
I think we have Boren.
Oh, Bourne, I'm sorry.
Yep, 6209 Maple Valley Drive South. We have a value of $168 per square foot. We've got some comps listed that range from $157 to $182 per square foot. Our current value is $286,200. Mr. Boren purchased the property in 2019 for $266,000 with an unfinished basement. He has since finished the basement to 75% complete, finished in the basement, and added a fireplace and bathroom in that remodeling. So we recommend $286,200 for the 2020 assessment.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Strand?
Ben, do you know, what was the value of the permit to do the improvement to the property?
I'm not sure we have what they put on the permit. James is looking it up here.
Did he apply for a tax exemption on that, do you know? You should get a 5-year tax exemption.
No, this would, for residential property, they have to be older to get the remodeling exemption.
Older house.
An older house, correct.
Okay, thank you. Are you guys finding the permit?
Yes.
While they find the permit, Ben, can we go to the next one?
Sure. These are two vacant lots, 7214 and 7266 Eagle Point Drive. Mr. Mischel said that he purchased each lot for $15,000. Again, with the special assessments, the 7214 has a current balance of specials of $67,900. 7266 has a current balance of $70,500. Again, these are priced at what would otherwise be our full value, less the 30% vacancy. So we have $82,000 on the one property and $74,007 on 7266, and that's what we recommend.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second, any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Strand.
Yes.
Gehrig.
Yes.
Greenberg.
Aye.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Go back to Bourne, do we know that now?
I don't believe there is a permit on record.
I think I had a moved and seconded on
You
that
did.
one.
Yep.
Any other discussion, Mr. Strand? Roll call vote, please.
Greenberg.
Aye.
Gehrig.
Yes.
Strand.
Yes.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye.
It is not uncommon that we see things like basement finish without permits being taken out.
You next have a list of rechecks in progress, a list of approximately 25 partials, and you are going to continue to go through those, that's correct?
Correct. We'll still follow up with them. We're recommending that you simply approve the new value column values for each of these properties between now and the county board on June 1st. We will continue to work with these, and we may have recommendations for the county board at that time. But from a timing standpoint, we need to certify the roll so that we can get the assessment roll certified to the county in time for the county board.
Can I have a motion to do the rechecks in progress?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Who did the move? I'll second.
Greenberg. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Strand.
Yes.
Greenberg.
Aye.
Gehrig.
Yes.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Is there a motion to approve the 2020 assessment roll valuations as equalized?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Gary, any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Gehrig.
Yes.
Strand.
Yes.
Greenberg.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Now, if somebody's not unhappy with this motion here today, Matt could go to the county as well?
Correct.
So
Yep.
he has an option to appeal to the county. If they're not happy there, then they can go to where?
State Board in August.
So there's two other appealing processes,
And-
Matt, if you want to do that.
And to be able to go to the State Board, you have to have been on record as appealing at the city and county. So we wanted to make sure that we got them on record here.
Well, this has been a difficult time to do assessments. I know your team has difficulty getting in the homes. I think Commissioner Pepcorn's topic, we really like it when people get into homes because it really helps us to make assessments of value. A little frustrated that's not happening. I think you told us at one time it was 20% of people wouldn't allow that to happen. But it surely would be helpful if people want to appeal their taxes that they do take it to the homes. Home values continue to be a valuation of all of us to have a home, and it goes up in time, and we've had tremendous market in this area. We'll see the effects of the coronavirus, but as usual, that'll take some time. And to your article in the New York Times, probably home is the best thing to hang on to right now. The stock market looks terrible. But I think we're adjourned at this time. Commissioner Strand.
I just have a question about process going forward. You know, I can understand completely folks who go, gosh, we're in a crisis, and you're increasing our valuations, and it's good to know that the statutory requirements of February 1st deadlines. What I'm curious about is looking forward to next year. I don't want to assume we're going to have a market correction here, but if we do, because right now I think you do 5 every 5th year, or is it 5? You have a rotation of 5, this section of town, this section of town, this section, there's 5 sections of town.
As far as areas that we physically go into, but the other areas of town, we're still running the sales ratio statistics, and we're adjusting values based on models and what the sales are indicating.
So what I'm curious about is if there is a correction beginning to happen, how does that affect your department's approach to all of this and then us?
Well, we're constantly monitoring the sales. It isn't something that we just do once a year and we're shocked and surprised by what we find. We're getting sales weekly and constantly running statistics. So we have a running number, so to speak, throughout the year. And based on that, that's going to determine the type of reappraisal work, either with physical appraisals or adjustments that need to be made throughout the year before we get to this time next year. So that's a process that's ongoing and will be happening throughout the year. And I mean, we monitor, we get all of the multiple listing sales, and in North Dakota, there is full disclosure that sales prices have to be recorded on the deeds. So we have a lot of data to work with, and we will, up or down, hopefully that doesn't happen, but we will be monitoring it and adjusting that in the values that we bring you next year.
Mr. Pepcorn.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, Ben, you and your department are excellent, your professionalism. I want to thank you for your work. Obviously, this has been adverse times, but I really appreciate the way you run your department and the assessment department. Thank all your staff, because it's sometimes you bear the brunt of our actions, and so I apologize for that, but you guys do a great job, and so thank you for what you do, and you've been working here a long time, and I really appreciate your hard work.
Well, thank you very much, and we do have excellent people in our office that know what they're doing.
Any other comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
Grinberg.
I'm thinking of the late Mayor Wallaker and his comments after the '08 crash. You know, our market certainly wasn't in the subprime business for home ownership, and largely we buffered that national downturn and having a fair amount of equity to, you know, a home purchase. And I can't use '08 as a comparison. I think what's going on and what impacts that's going to have on the home industry. But I would hope that it stabilizes and continues, because home ownership is, you know, the American dream, and your best asset is your home. I do believe, though, that we're going to see significant changes in the commercial real estate market. You know, the point I made last night, if buyer behavior and is more online, less times to a retail store, we're going to see impacts to the commercial real estate market and a correction. I think that is going to occur. How big remains to be seen, but the indicators suggest that.
Well, we're curious about that ourselves. I mean, we've heard comments that, for instance, the value of office space now that people figure that they can work remotely. So there's a lot of changes that could happen.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Strand?
Something I learned today, and I'd be curious for me to learn, is the remodeling exemptions. We may explore how old a house is before you can improve a home and get the exemption. In my view, anytime you improve your home, I want them to improve it. And if we can help incent people to do that and give them a few years break, we should maybe consider that.
What are the rules around that, Ben? How did they evolve to older homes?
Well, we have a policy that is kind of phased. For residential, the property has to be at least 25 years by statute. And our policy is if the property is 40 years or older, we grant 5 years instead of just 3. And it's only on the amount added for the remodeling. So, and it's been around for quite a while, and obviously you see a number of them on every commission meeting for approval. So people are taking advantage of it, and I think building inspections, they may even have the application form when they write permits that they're giving the people. So it's, we're encouraging people to take advantage of it.
Very good. Any other business? Any other discussion? We are adjourned. Thank you.